like Jackie and Rose. Had the water been warmer, like Bonnie and Clyde down in California. Fall in love on the run, trying to make it to Cabo. Romeo with a blunt, Juliet with a bottle. Baby, I'm looking for reasons to call it a lie, but if the water.
All right, what is going on, guys? Today we are back with the Super73 RX with the BAC855 controller installed. I've been getting a lot of questions. I've been getting a lot of comments on this controller and this setup. And I've been getting a lot of referrals. A lot of you guys have been buying this controller, even though they've been out of stock for some time now. But whenever they're in stock, you guys are just taking them off the shelf. So I do want to thank you guys for buying them, using my discount code. Full transparency, that does give me a bit of a kickback as well, so it's awesome to see you guys supporting me. I really do appreciate that. If you guys do want to get your own controller when they do come in stock, I'll have a little discount link and code on screen and in the description down below to check it out. But today we're going to be doing a bit of a, I think it's been over 2 weeks since I've had this setup going now. A bit of a ride, a review. We're also testing a new firmware update that they put out as well, so let's get right into it. So let's talk about the bad first, because I think one of the bad things that, it's honest, I swear, I don't see anyone else comment about this issue online or on the forums, on the Facebook groups, or on comments. I don't see anyone else talking about this. So I think this bad issue that I have only affects literally me. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm the only one that's been reporting it. If you go on their website for their firmware updates, it says that specifically only one user has this issue, and that one user is me. But the issue is, if we go into mode 3, which is the top mode right now, and if I really push the bike to its limits, let's just say if I maybe am trying to hold the top speed for quite some time, or I'm going up a hill while at top speed, the bike will shut off. Now, that's not something on the controller, that's not something on my motor, it's actually something that we've come to find out is my battery. So for context, I've had this Super73 ever since really it came out. So like what, 2-3 years now? Remember, it was like peak pandemic. So I've had this bike for about 2-3 years now, hundreds if not thousands of miles on it. You know, this bike has been, or this battery at least, has been through the ringer. I've replaced the controller at some point when there was the super updates for the controller. I've replaced the motor as well when the motor died. Oh, can we catch up to that moped? So really the only thing that's like stock to this bike other than the frame is the battery. So this battery has really been through the ringer, and because of that, and this might happen going up this slight hill right now, any second now, if the firmware update didn't fix it. But what happens is, if I'm holding the top speed for some time, or I'm going up a hill, or both at the same time, the battery or the bike will just shut off. And that's just like a safety feature on the battery, so that way it doesn't overheat or shut off or just like overexert itself. It's usually literally right around this hill that we're on right now. So it might happen if the firmware update that I just did on the bike doesn't fix it. We're about to find out, I guess. But that is like the only issue that I've been having. Yep, there we go. I felt like the power sag almost instantly. And yeah, throttle doesn't work. The bike shut off just because of the battery. So that is I guess you could say a safety feature, which honestly I'm okay with, because it just really prevents the battery from overworking. It prevents the motor from overheating or anything like that. So even though this is a safety feature that can be annoying just to me, I'm honestly okay with it. You know, the bike shuts off, you pull over, and you turn everything back on, and it works just as normal. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to stay on mode 2, because the mode 2 is the stock, stock controller, stock bike setting. So I'm going to keep it there. You just get a lot more torque in this mode, which honestly just makes riding way more fun. I also don't want to keep having to pull over and restart the bike every time it shuts down. If anything, I'll just go into mode 3 when I'm going downhill, just for the fun of it. So that's the only bad thing, right? The solution that the guys at Handlworks and I think could fix it is just getting a new battery. Because like I said, this battery is like 2-3 years old. I'm sure the cells or whatever goes into battery building, like whatever's in the battery, I'm sure, you know, they're slowly dying out. They're going bad. Like even before I made the controller swap, I've noticed that the battery dies a lot sooner than it used to. So I'm pretty sure that's just like normal wear and tear on the battery over the years, right? So if anyone has like an extra stock RX battery, relatively new, not too many miles on it, maybe you just bought a Super and you're just straight going to a 72 volt upgrade, and you don't want the stock battery, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I don't know, help me out and see if that will fix it. But speaking of 72 volt upgrades, one of the things that I do enjoy about this controller is its customization. It's customizable. So I've seen people with just single stock batteries like me. I've seen people with, let me go into mode 3 for a little bit. I've seen people with dual 48 volt batteries. I've seen people with 52 volt. I don't think I've seen a 72 volt setup with this controller just yet. I could be wrong, but the fact that this controller can handle really anything you throw at it, you know, anything from a single 48, dual 48, 52, and a 72 volt, and really anything in between, that's awesome, right? I don't really have any plans to upgrade my bike anytime soon down the road. I mean, now that I'm out of my warranty years and whatnot, maybe I'll actually start doing some research and, you know, pull the trigger on something. Plus, with winter and fall coming soon, I'm really not in any rush to upgrade it, because if I upgrade now, I'm not going to be able to ride for a while until it gets warm again. So, but just knowing that if I ever decide to upgrade, I can keep the controller, and I'm not going to have to buy an expensive controller just to really have it work with whatever system I go for. That's good to know. It gives me peace of mind that my bike is basically future-proof with customization options. So I love that aspect, right? It's great to know. Another positive is just the ride feel. Like this honestly feels like what a Super probably should have been and what people were expecting out of the gate stock when they bought it, right? Now, obviously for legal reasons and legality and all that, you know, rider safety stuff, Super couldn't give us that sort of power and torque off the line. So, you know, in their defense, I get that. But this is what it really should have felt like off the jump when you first bought it, because this feels so much fun. Before I did the upgrade, I was basically really only riding my P51, just because the suspension on that bike is a lot better. It's a lot more fun to ride. Like, I just found myself riding that bike a lot more than the Super. They both go roughly the same speed, you know, 28 to 32 miles an hour depending. So there really was no big difference. But it's just like this, the suspension, the ride feel, the battery being newer. You know, it just felt more fun to ride, the Bullet. Side note, there's a rumor that they're going to be making the same controller but for the P51. So if that does happen and you guys want to see me do this controller swap on my Bullet, let me know in the comments down below. I'm for sure going to be looking out for any updates on a Bullet controller, because that would be that'll be so fun. I mean, it's not going to be Sur-Ron level, since people compared the Bullet to a Sur-Ron, you know, street legal Sur-Ron. It's not going to be anywhere near that, but oh my god, I can't wait for that controller to come out if that does actually happen. By the way, this is a kilowatt app, in case anyone's wondering while we're waiting for the light. How do I change this kph to mph? Because I can't seem to figure it out. Like, I don't know where to go in the controller settings to do it. I don't know if it's a display thing, because this also, the time is also wrong on the bike display as well. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. I am just curious, because I'm sure having two different numbers can throw you off if you're a viewer and you don't know what's going on. I just don't know how to fix it. And those guys were staring hard as hell at me. See, if the bike didn't die, I probably could have caught up to that moped rider that was ahead of me before it shut off. That guy was also staring too. What the heck? I'm getting a lot of looks. I guess I just never noticed it until now. All right, so we're in mode 3 right now. We're at a stop. Let's take a look at the torque. I'm still kind of getting used to the torque. It's very, like, off the line, it's pretty slow. But once you, like, give it 1 to 2 pedal rotations or just a little bit of throttle, it just takes off. We're already at 25 miles an hour, already at 30, going up a slight hill. Granted, to another stoplight, but like, just the torque is insane on this bike. Off the line, off of a takeoff, it's amazing. I love it. So let's see, we've talked about the battery issue that really I just kind of need to get a new battery for. The motor has been holding up just fine. It hasn't been overheating. I haven't had any issues with like it clicking like the original motor. Issue with the stock controller upgrade. You guys know what I'm talking about. The brick motor or the brick controller, whatever that issue was, I don't have that. So that's good to know. I like this display. I like that there's a kilowatt app that you can use as well to really customize it. I don't mess with it. I don't mess with the settings on there. I just use this app to upgrade the firmware whenever there's anything new coming out. But if I can figure out how to change this, just because my phone screen looks a lot better than this small display in comparison, it feels great. Now actually, as I switch lanes and to make this turn right here, one thing that I don't like about this first rendition of the controller, if you will, and I say first rendition because they're actually working on a fix for it, is that there's no lighting like support. I can't use my headlight, I can't use my turn signals, I can't even use my horn. And you know, as a street rider, a lot of the videos I make, they're riding in the street along with cars, so it's kind of annoying to not be able to use my turn signals or to use a horn in case like a car is about to cut me off or stop in front of me if I'm trying to switch lanes. Obviously, as a biker, I don't really need to do that, right? But just for so that way other drivers don't get confused on what my next move is, I would like that. Now they are working on upgrades for a lighting kit. I don't know if it's like a whole new controller or if it's something I can just like plug into the stock controller to like really plug all the lighting stuff in. I don't know yet, but they are working on a lighting upgrade for this controller setup. And best believe when that comes out, I'm gonna see about installing it. I did send over some old lighting parts that I had laying around to Handlworks so that way they can kind of not really speed them up, but I think they blew a fuse or something with one of their headlights that they had in shop, and so I just sent them my old one to hopefully help them out a bit. So lighting, while I can't access it right now along with my horn, it's in the works, so I'm hoping that there's an upgrade or an update or whatever, hopefully soon down the road, so I can get that back, because I know a lot of people are also complaining about that too. Hey there, bubbers. What you eating out of? Eating out of a bowl? But yeah, like I was saying, as you can see, I've got the illuminated turn signal and the brake bar here. But as you can see, I'm hitting the brakes. Nothing's happening. So I'm hoping that there's a lighting kit or a lighting plug and play that I can do to this that will give us riders lighting and horns back, just for the safety of it. One thing I do like is pedal assist is still there. I know when I first installed it and took it out for the first ride, I couldn't really tell if pedal assist was live or not. It's there, and I don't really notice any significant difference to it. Okay, I don't know what this person's doing. I don't really notice any significant difference to it in terms of like if it, you know, it takes less pedals to really take off. What are they doing? They're just sitting in the middle of the street. Anyway, but it's there. You know, it's nice to have if you want to save a little bit of battery, especially if you have a battery like mine that's so old and dies quick. I mean, with this kind of controller setup, I highly doubt pedaling saves you any battery, but it's, you know, it's a little bit. It could probably help out a little bit compared to throttling. So let's see, we've talked about, let me go. All right, let's see. So we've talked about the battery cutoff. We've talked about the torque and the top speed. Well, the top speed is just, it feels great. Like, see, but like I mentioned before, I used to always take my Bullet out over my Super, but now I'm taking my Super out over my Bullet. So until that Bullet BAC controller that I talked about earlier comes out, I'm probably going to be on the Super all the time now. But the Bullet is still fun to ride. I still ride that thing every now and then, but you know, when I can go fast, this is the way to go. And see, look at this. Like, there's traffic here. People, if there's a car behind me, don't know where I'm going to go. Turn signals would be nice to have again. Turn signals and a horn, because a lot of people love to cut across from that lane over to the exit because they're dumb. They don't take the right exit out the light. So horns would be great for this situation as well. The only other issue that I can think of having right now, it has nothing to do with like the battery cutoff or the controller, is that I still have a pinch flat in my rear tire. So every 4 to 5 rides, I have to reinflate the tire back up from flat. It doesn't go flat immediately. You know, whenever I do reinflate it, it just takes a couple of rides for it to actually be flat. And I'm honestly just too lazy to swap out the tube on my, like, I'm just too, I don't want to do it. I've done it so many times, I kind of just don't want to do it right now. I had to do it for the Bullet. I had to do it, work with like brake stuff recently before that as well. I just don't want to work with tires for a little bit, so I'm okay with having to reinflate my tires every 4 to 5 rides. That's really the only thing. That is the only, I think it's the only thing that I can think of. Look at this, I'm keeping up with this car. Look at that. 34 miles an hour on flat road. Battery is at 80%, but that could be wrong because, like I said, it's an old battery, so who knows. I also hit another dead spot somewhere on this street. I'm gonna try to avoid it this time, but yeah, I mean, people who are asking if this is worth it, look, if you're good at, you know, wiring and running things through the frame, or maybe you're a bike mechanic and you know what you're doing with e-bike components, then you're good to go. Like I said, the only annoying part about installing this whole thing was wiring everything through the frame. That was it. Plugging everything up under the seat wasn't that bad. The only other annoying part being, you know, the battery dying and the bike shutting off. That's like just, you know, it's not the controller's issue, it's not the motor's issue, it's just the battery being old. So I'm pretty sure getting a new battery would fix everything. So I'm not, you know, stressed out about that. I'm not mad at Handlworks for that. That's like just, you know, my own fault, I guess you could say. So I'm pretty sure just buying a new battery can fix it. So I might end up doing that maybe for the spring riding season, because like I said, it's about to be cold. I'm not going to be riding as much, so we'll see. Not having turn signals and a horn, that sucks, but a fix for that's coming soon. The firmware upgrades, the customization in terms of that is great. The Kilowatt app, even though I don't know anything about it, the fact that, you know, just going in there and just like messing through some of the screens that's on the app in correlation to the bike and the controller, the customization on that end is cool to know, because I know Surons and Talarias and other bikes like that, more powerful bikes, they use the Kilowatt app too most of the time, so that's great as well. Honestly, if I can just get my lighting stuff back and a new battery, this would go back to being my daily driver, honestly, because I still have the S1, which that's being kept stock. Like, I'm not modifying that by any means in terms of power or battery. I still have the P51, which I'm hoping to upgrade soon to the same controller, this equivalent controller for that motor and battery. So until then, this is pretty much my go-to now. People also were asking me if I upgraded my forks, which I don't really, I mean, I do and I don't understand why I would do that. Because I think I mentioned it in one of my previous videos hating on the Super. It's that people who upgrade it to 72 volt, you know, if they crash their bike, because it's not meant to go that high of a speed, it would just break into pieces, you know, the frame would. But for this, you know, I'm not going that much faster to, I guess, justify upgrading, you know, the fork or anything like that. So I don't really see any need to upgrade the fork. On top of that, I don't really know of any aftermarket suspension for the front of the bike that would support that, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know of any aftermarket front forks that would work with the RX while also working with like the front utility tray that I just installed that could work with the headlight. Actually, I don't know. I haven't really taken a look at where the fork starts and ends on this bike, but I think you get what I mean. So with that being said, and with a possible another cutout coming up soon, because I'm going uphill at 32 miles an hour and holding that, let me slow down a bit. I think I've addressed a lot of the good and the bad and the ugly that will be fixed soon that I've been experiencing with this controller upgrade. Short answer, do I recommend it if you have either an RX or an S2? 100%. If you have an older model RX or S2, will you have issues like me with the battery? Possibly. I'm not going to say yes, I'm not going to say no, because it is a case-by-case basis, or it's situational. So you might have similar issues. But if you have maybe an RX that came out over the last year or two, I'm going to say if you bought an RX that was announced or at the C1X reveal event and you install this controller, I don't think it'll have any of the cutoff issues. You might, I don't know, but because those bikes are newer, I think you'll be fine. Do they come out with anything for the S1? I don't think so, but I did see that Handlworks did make a post and they showed an S1 on their workbench, so I don't know if they really either worked on something or also working on something for the S1. Same thing for the ZX. I know the ZX has like a beta firmware on their website, but I honestly don't know if this controller is also plug and play for the ZX. So I'm not sure yet. Again, Handlworks for this controller is still relatively new. There's still bugs, there's still things to be needed worked out and upgraded, like the lighting and whatnot, and my cutoff thing. Maybe the cutoff can be fixed somewhere in the controller, but I don't know that. So am I gonna press them on fixing it? No. You know, they got more important things to work on. And if the quick fix for me is just getting a new battery, I'll bite the bullet and use the money that would have gone to buying this controller out of pocket to a new battery. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoy the video. Drop a like, leave any other questions or comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. As we pull up to the house.